I'm former NFL player turned chef Darrell Smith, and I'm on a mission to spread love through food, giving a fresh new twist on home-cooked meals. It's all mad good food.
It's your boy, Uncle Rel. And you've all heard me talk about my grandma, Estelle. Literally, she was the rock of our entire family. She grew up in South Carolina, and she brought those recipes from the South up to Philadelphia, taught my mom, and my mom taught me how to cook. And though we may have had our generational differences, the impact and the influence that she had on me as a man and as a chef is something I carry with me today. I'm making an entire episode based on her roots and the food she grew up with. We're making fried chicken with the buttermilk and sriracha brine. We're gonna make some delicious sides to go with that. All right, so let's do it. To get started, we're just gonna put these into a bowl. There we go. We're just gonna add a little buttermilk. Buttermilk tenderizes it. It's a little acid, so it breaks down that meat. We got a little sriracha. The sriracha is a little sweet. It gives you a little spice. I like the flavor of it. Little salt, little pepper, just a generic hot sauce. Pop this in the fridge, I would say 2-4 hours, and if you got time, ideally you wanna put this in overnight. You know, growing up, I thought my grandma was a mean woman until I was old enough to understand the meaning of grace. My grandma grew up in South Carolina at a time when black people were not legally accepted. She didn't understand how to express that type of love because she never was given that type of love. And that's what I mean by grace. And now we're gonna get over to the mac and cheese. First, what you wanna start with is just a little bit of butter. Next, we got some black pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, Parmesan cheese. The cheeses, I will say, are a little different than the cheeses I grew up with because we got this bougie-ass Gruyere cheese, and nobody was buying no Gruyere cheese growing up in my household. You always want to do this when the noodles are freshly cooked so that when you're stirring that cheese in, it doesn't clump up. We're gonna take half of this sharp cheddar cheese. You see it all come together and just get nice and sticky. We're gonna take some milk, unmeasured. As my grandma used to say, yay high. Growing up, we would use evaporated milk, but today I'm gonna use some heavy cream. It's a little thicker. 2 eggs, because we got a good amount of mac and cheese. Now, whisk these together. And all I'm looking for is the color to turn almost a tint of yellow. And now we're gonna start to layer our mac and cheese. We got a nice casserole dish, and Jazz so graciously brushed it with butter. Thanks, Jazz.
Welcome.
Now, all I wanna do is take this sticky mac and cheese, and I'm gonna pour this into my baking dish. I'm gonna go up about halfway with the noodles. I'm gonna put some cheese in the middle too. Layer that around. Now, we're gonna add more of our noodles. There it is, that's the stuff. You just wanna take this milk, and we're gonna pour it around the edges. We're gonna pour it in the middle until it gets up right to that edge. I like to add breadcrumbs to my mac and cheese, one, because it's texture, but then two, because it looks really pretty. I'm gonna add just a little bit of olive oil. What this does, it gives you a nice little smoky flavor. Now, is just sprinkle this over top. Then, remember that cheese that we reserved? I'm gonna put that here. Macaroni and cheese should have cheese. Now we're just gonna add the rest of our panko to the top. Last but not least, Grandma's mac and cheese always was topped with a little bit of color. And for our color, we're just gonna add some paprika. Right before it goes in the oven, we just wanna make sure that we add a little bit more of that liquid, because what happened was that noodle soaked it up just a little bit, and we wanna make sure we don't have dry mac and cheese, because nobody wants dry mac and cheese. Look at that. When we come back, I'm gonna fry up some chicken.
At Honda, we know you have to drive through the mud if you want to reach the rainbow. The all-new CR-V and CR-V Hybrid, part of the Honda line of rugged vehicles.
We're back. Before we get to the chicken, I'm actually gonna make the dredge for it. I got a little bit of AP flour. Cornstarch is the thing I like to add to my flour because it acts like a drying agent. A little salt, little pepper, and now we're gonna dredge our chicken in this flour. And what we're trying to achieve is basically a thin layer of coating so that when we fry it, it's not too cakey. The beautiful thing about brining our chicken in this buttermilk and sriracha is that it acts like a glue for that flour. As you can see, I'm pressing the chicken into the flour, and then I'm shaking off all of the excess, and we put our chicken right on the side. I'm gonna take some collard greens and make collard green slaw. We got Fresno chilies. You know, I've never heard of a collard green slaw until I made it. This brilliant mind of mine. But I think that's the beautiful thing about learning recipes from grandmas and just the elders in general, is that we get a nice base, and then it's up to us to kind of take that baton and add our own little creativity and imagination to it. All right, so we got that. We got a shallot. This right here, I'll just slice down the middle. I like to cut these just super thin. Like that. We just get this into our bowl. To start our slaw, we got a little bit of sugar, and we're just gonna pickle these vegetables just a little bit. Lemon juice, got a little bit of red wine vinegar. I'm gonna just mix this around just a little bit. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Boom, that's good. Olive oil. We're almost creating like a little dressing, and now we'll add our cabbage. So this one is more like a vinegary slaw versus a mayo-based slaw. And I like this because you can eat this all year round. And all I'm gonna do is just toss all of this stuff together. Hell yeah, this is a very southern slaw. Hella collard greens in here. All right, let's turn this back on, because it's time to fry some chicken. We wanna get those fat pieces in first, because those take the longest to fry. So sometimes you might fry your chicken, and as soon as you put it in, it looks done. Trust me that this chicken is not done. Put a top on it. Turn it to low. And while that chicken is in there, the heat is coming up, and it's hitting the top, and then it's coming down, and it's pressurizing that chicken and infusing it with that heat. And over time, we get to cook the chicken at a lower temperature versus cooking it on really, really high heat. Bigger pieces, 12 to 14 minutes. The smaller pieces, I would say around 9 to 11 minutes. Look at that. Chicken is done. We got that fried chicken nice and crispy that we brined in that buttermilk and that sriracha. We got that creamy mac and cheese with the nice panko crust on top. And then we got those collard greens that we massaged and loved and made into a delicious slaw. Yeah, I like to get all of it in one bite. Now, yeah, that's the stuff. My grandma's heart was pure, her soul was pure, and I could taste her in this food, I could hear her in this music. Loved ones aren't forever, but love is everlasting, all right? I want you to remember that. It's your Uncle Rel signing out.